when I went to see Superman, I was feeling so anxious. When I went to site and I saw that the movie was packed, was full of people. And it's not a normal thing in Stockholm to have a fully packed cinema. And the energy, it was the same energy as I had when I went to see a Minecraft movie. Everybody was expecting to have fun and everybody was in a party mood. It felt great and I was like anxious and so emotional. Superman has to be great. It has to be good. But then what I got, it wasn't just a great Superman movie or a fantastic Superman movie. James Gunn movie. You know what it was? It was a fantastic movie full of heart, emotions, and it brought lots of love. You could feel that James Gunn loves Superman. Another thing, it felt like watching a comic book come to life and splash onto your face. I love it. It's with all the colors. Let's dig in. Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Facundo and I hope you're doing fine. Today we're gonna talk about Superman. This movie is great and it's gonna be lots of spoilers because this is a spoiler review. Okay, let's dig in, let's continue. Superman is one of my favorite characters. Okay, Batman is my favorite character ever, but Superman is up there because it's one of the Trinity. You know, I love DC and I love DC all my life since I was a kid. I needed this to be good. And for the event, this is a great event movie. It's more something bold and it's emotional and it's totally unexpected because all other comic book movies are trying to hold back on what a comic book is. But no, this one was actually a comic book splashed onto the screen. It was a in your face. I love it because I love comic books and we're reading comic books all my life. And the first comic books I ever bought, the new Teen Titans, and I loved it. And since then I was hooked. And I also bought Blade with Dracula, also written by Mark Wolfman. Yes, it's so good. DC Comics was my first love, and I love DC Comics so much. So this has to be good. We did get a Superman who hurts, who feels, and he really feels like a human being. And we got Krypto. I love Krypto. Krypto's a lot of fun. I saw the Super Pets movie when I was a kid. We were like, Krypto is a lot of fun. He's so cool. And this Krypto, he's like a bad puppy. He's not a good dog. He's like a bad puppy. He's like totally needs to be trained. But it's a dog, and this dog feels like a dog. And I later gonna explain why Krypto behaves this way. Also got a huge Kaiju fight and a message from Krypton that changes everything. Now, this is gonna be a full spoiler review. I'm gonna spoil a lot of the movie, so beware. This movie is super fun and also very emotional. The movie starts with telling us that there have been metahumans and super beings on Earth for several hundred years. And so people knows about superheroes. So it's not so uncommon seeing people flying around above you. And then we also find out that Superman has been around for something like 3 years. This time with a fight with the Hammer of Baravia, he actually got beaten. This part is the part that we see in all the trailers when Superman falls down into the snow and this sound like that and smashes into the ground and it's bleeding a lot and has injuries. And then Superman whistles and calls for Krypto. And then the ground starts shaking and the cinema starts shaking and Krypto comes running. And Krypto, he doesn't get that Superman is hurt. So he's like, look, my buddy's there. He's lying on the ground. So he starts jumping on it. And Krypto actually has superpowers. So when he stops jumping on Superman, Superman gets hurt. So like, Krypto, stop jumping on me. You're hurting me. And then he says, and then Superman says,
Krypto. Oh, Damien.
And then Krypto runs super fast and brings him to the Fortress of Solitude. This Fortress of Solitude reminded me a lot of the one in Smallville, I think. Like, yes, and the Richard Donner ones. Yes, but this one comes from below, like that. And it's very great. And then Krypto starts barking, the doors open like that, and And then the Superman droids, they start taking care of him. I'm thankful, thanks you. And they're like, oh no, we don't have any feelings. You don't need to care about that. And also, in the background, we're hearing a message in Kryptonian, and it comes from Superman parents. And the message feels like it's a very great message about Superman coming to Earth and being a nice guy, like a hero to everybody. And so Superman really believes this message, that he's told by his parents that he has to be a good person. Then Superman is getting bombarded by sun. You can hear his bones, but like healing and mending. And of course, that sounds very painful. So a lot of people were like, why is Superman screaming if he's just getting sun? But he has never been hurt like this. This is the first time ever Superman's been hurt. And the sunlight is actually repairing his bones, his bladder, and lungs and stuff like that. And of course, this is painful. So you can see how David Cornsweet, as Superman, he screams. And later, Superman flies to Metropolis and he starts a new fight with the Hammer of Boravia. And he loses again. But the Hammer of Boravia, he actually leaves and Superman falls down to the ground. And a guy who sells falafel, he comes and he saves Superman. And Superman says, no, you have to run away. He says, no. And then the falafel vendor says, you've been saving people all the time. Now it's time for us to save you. And then the Hammer Bravia says, I will continue because Superman has invaded our sovereignty or something like that. And he flies away. Then we actually find out that the Hammer Bravia works for Lex Luthor. And he is an Ultraman and in disguise. So he works for Lex Luthor. And we also find out that Superman stopped the war. So then it's a very cool interview between Lois Lane and Clark Kent. And he says, you write a lot of boring articles about yourself. So you should maybe let somebody else write something about you. And then Superman's like, Clark Kent is like, okay, why don't we have an interview? And she says, let's have an interview now. And this scene has been in the commercials, in the trailers, and this scene is great. And it doesn't go the way that Clark Kent wanted it to go. And I really love this scene. And also we find out that Lois Lane is not 100% sure about her relationship with Clark Kent, with Superman. And she also says like she's not used to having a relationship. And while this is happening, the engineer, she's a very cool character, for she's from the Authority. She finds out what the Fortress of Solitude is. So she brings Lex Luthor and Ultraman there. And for some reason, the Fortress of Solitude that only reacts to Superman's DNA opens up. And the droids looks very confused and they're looking at the trio and they don't understand how they could be able to come into the Fortress of Solitude. But no, you're not welcome here. This is a private property or something like that. And a big fight starts between the droids and Ultraman and the engineer. And Krypto, trying to protect his house, he's doing his best, and it's a very cool fight. And Krypto sadly gets beaten by the engineer. While this is happening, the engineer says, what can we do to stop Superman from coming here? And then, actually, Lex Luthor says, I have a plan already in motion. Because he planned something. And what he planned was to bring a Kaiju to Metropolis. Scene with two of Lex Luthor's goons in a van is fantastic because they have like a box, and inside the box is something small and something and it's very very funny. And then they open the box, it doesn't look any threatening at all in the beginning. It's like and runs away. And this little monster is actually going to become the great Kaiju that Superman's gonna fight later. So then the big fight starts, and now is the first time we meet the Justice Gang. The Justice Gang are fantastic, or let's say they are terrific, but the fight between the Kaiju and the Justice Gang and Superman is very, very cool, because Superman is doing all he can not to hurt the Kaiju, you know, because maybe Superman could have one punch it, but he doesn't do it because he doesn't want to harm it. He wants to find a way to bring it to like a zoo or something and to be studied. But the Justice Gang is like, yeah, really, we don't think we're gonna do that. And which is terrific. He's actually one of the best characters in the whole movie. It's like, he looks at Superman, yeah, nah. And he does a very cool thing with his tease spheres and actually kills the big Kaiju and it falls down. And that scene is very cool. And Superman, why did you kill it? Why do you have to kill it? We could have brought it to somebody who could help us. But then something very bad happens. Because while the engineer is in the Fortress of Solitude, she actually breaks into Superman's computer. And big message from Krypton that Superman always been listening to was actually broken. So he never heard the whole message, but the engineer, she fixes it. And now we find out something that's gonna change the DCU Superman lore forever. We actually find out that Superman has been sent to Earth to conquer and to impregnate a lot of women and have a harem so Krypton can be revived again. And everybody in Metropolis are hearing this at the same time because all the big screens around town are showing this. When everybody finds out that Superman been sent to Earth to conquer, and then the public trust collapses. Hawk Girl says that, how did they get the footage though? Then Superman realizes that they have been to the Fortress of Solitude, so he flies super fast. And when he enters the Fortress of Solitude, he sees that all his drugs are broken and destroyed. And Superman's like, where is Krypto? Where is Krypto? But Krypto doesn't answer. Then he understands that Lex Luthor was the one that broke into the Fortress of Solitude. So Superman flies very fast and crashes the Luthor Corp building. And where is my dog? Where is my dog? Where is my dog? And Luthor's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor is great. He's menacing, and also he feels like very threatening. At the same time, he's not, because he's like very calm. And it's like, I don't know what you're talking about, Superman. You destroy my property. And Superman loses it, throwing furniture around and stuff like that. And where is my dog? Lex, he's just a dog. Please, where is my dog? Same time, Lex Luthor's girlfriend, she's recording everything. She's like filming herself like this. And she's like, and she films everything. And Superman realizes this. Then he talks to the camera and he talks to the audience. That he has taken my dog. I want my dog back. We find out there's an arrest order on Superman, and Superman decides that he is going to turn himself in. And he does this. And is taken to the pocket dimension by Ultraman, aka the Hammer of Boravia, the engineer, and Rick Flag Sr. All belongs to Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor tricked everybody to believe that Superman is evil and he's the hero. Superman in the pocket dimension is shown a lot of stuff, like a scene when we shown that the super intelligent monkeys like typing a lot of hate stuff like trolls. It's fun. And so a lot of social media and like super shit and stuff like that. It's so funny because this feels like a Silver Age comic when stuff like this can happen. It's so funny because look, these monkeys are real trolls, and these monkeys, this has been a big part of Lex Luthor tricking the public that people don't like Superman, but actually most of them are just these monkeys typing away. And the funny thing is, I also find out that Superman has been thinking about this, and he comes up with his own social media stuff. At the same time, he says, I don't read social media. It's very funny. And then we see Krypto, and Krypto is like a big ball, and he's flying around, and Krypto is seeing like many super squirrels flying around and he's trying to catch them. Then Lex Luthor says, we are gonna keep him as long as we want to, and then we're gonna study him, and then we're gonna kill him. And Superman says, you're showing me all this stuff. Why are you showing me this stuff? Like you're never gonna let me go. And then Superman is imprisoned in a cell together with Metamorpho. And Metamorpho, he actually uses his powers to duplicate Kryptonite. And he's forced to obey Lex Luthor. Why? Because Lex Luthor has his baby hostage. That's why Metamorpho uses Kryptonite to weaken Superman and actually is killing him. Then the brave falafel vendor, the kebab vendor, he's being brought to Superman, and Lex Luthor is playing Russian roulette with a gun, spinning, and he wants to make Superman talk, but Lex accidentally kills the man. And I didn't like the scene at all. I felt the scene was very bad. Lex Luthor, he kills him, and then he says, I didn't think it was going to go so fast. I thought it was going to take longer. And then said, you know what? If this guy didn't make you talk, I'm going to bring the guy that always writes about you, that always interviews you. I'm going to bring in Clark Kent. But we, the audience, we know that Clark Kent and Superman is the same person. So we know that Lex Luthor already brought Clark Kent. Metamorpho, he feels very, very bad because a man got killed in front of his face. And he feels like he's doing the wrong thing. So he decides to start helping Superman. So he stops with the green kryptonite. So instead, he tries to create a sun because Superman tells him that the only thing that can revive him is the sun. But there's no sun in the pocket dimension. So he doesn't get fed. He doesn't get any fuel and he can't heal. But then Metamorpho starts creating a mini sun. And he heals Superman, not completely, because Superman is still hurt from the fight with the Hammer of Boravia, but he's fast enough to fly and save the Metamorpho's baby. Metamorpho says, I'm so grateful for this. And together they're trying to escape, but Metamorpho says, while he's fighting, he can't carry the baby. So he asks Superman to do it. Meanwhile, we see the Hall of Justice. I love the Hall of Justice, and I've done it all my life. And the scene on screen, on the big screen, was great. It's very empty because the only members of the Justice Gang, we know who they're gonna become later, Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, and Hawkgirl. So, which means that these people are the only ones there. And Lois Lane, she comes and, hello, we need to help Superman. He's being brought to a pocket dimension and we need to save him. And it's a lot of fun because Guy Gardner is like, oh, so you are a friend of Superman. You're a friend of Clark Kent. And you know he uses hypnoglasses to trick everybody. So they're fooled. So they don't understand that Superman is Clark Kent. What? Did he tell you about this? Oh my God, Clark can't keep a secret. And then we also find out that Mr. Terrific, he actually put nanites in Superman, and he says, oh, I just put nanites in everybody I know, everybody I meet. And Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl, they're looking at each other. Uh-oh, did Mr. Terrific put nanites in us? Then they find out where the pocket dimension is. Gardner and Hawkgirl decide not to follow them. But Mr. Terrific decides to help Lois Lane. And Lois Lane and Terrific, they're two of the coolest characters in the movie. They are very cool. They're very, very well written, both of them. Then it becomes a very cool scene when Mr. Terrific lands at a World Watch and they're like, you can't be here, you have to go away. They try to attack him, but Mr. Terrific uses his T-spheres and creates a bubble around Lois Lane, and then he starts fighting, and the way he fights is very Mr. Terrific, very, very cool. And it's like Mr. Terrific tries to crack the portal to the pocket dimension, and they go there, but when they get there, they realize that they can't go anywhere because the portal doesn't go anywhere. You have to fly, or you have to have something that comes and get you. And actually, this is happening while Mr. Terrific and Lois Lane comes to the pocket dimension, and they can't get anywhere. Superman and Metamorpho is having a great fight against Lex Luthor's goons, and this fight is very, very cool. So, and then Superman falls into a flood, a river of something that's very, very deadly, like some deadly energy, and will kill everybody else except Superman and Krypto. So Superman still carries the baby, and he's trying to keep it above ground. That scene is so cool. And while they are attacked by Lex Luthor's goons, this is so cool. And then it's like a big black hole that's trying to suck in Superman. But Superman saved by Metamorpho and Krypto, and Superman, he uses his super breath and uses it to repel all of them away. So Superman saves everybody and they fall away. And then Krypto's like, what's that? And he sees the T-spheres flying around and he's like, oh, funny toys, I have to destroy them. And he starts biting off the T-sphere. That's a lot of fun. And then Mr. Terrific said, no, stop destroying my toys. And Superman hears it. And then Mr. Terrific said, follow the T-spheres. Hurry, the portal is closing in. You have to hurry. And Superman flies very, very fast with Krypto, Metamorpho, and the baby, and they at the last second they get free. But Superman is suffering of kryptonite poisoning. And then Mr. Terrific says this is a way to save him, and that way is time. He needs time to heal. So in a couple of days with sunlight, he's going to heal. So then Lois Lane asks Superman where to bring him. And Mr. Terrific, he actually gives her his spaceship, and she flies with the spaceship to the Kent farm. And it's very small, it's very fantastic. Oh, it's Superman to the Kent farm, and that scene is very, very emotional. I loved it so much because the Kents are so loving. Pa Kent and Martha, they are so loving. They really love their son. And they're like, who are you? And like, oh, hi, I'm Lois Lane. And they're like, Lois, our son gonna get better? And she said, yes, Mr. Terrific said he only needs a couple of days to recuperate. And then Krypto, he's lying down on Superman's chest. Oh, that's so cute, that's so good. And then Lois Lane says, oh, you have a dog? It's very funny. Then coming into the third act, we actually find out that the country of Boravia, that's gonna invade its neighboring country, is getting a lot of weapons from Lex Luthor for free. And we actually find out that why. And Jimmy Olsen, he has a secret contact, and that is actually Eve, Lex Luthor's girlfriend, who is Jimmy Olsen's informant. And she's been sending him selfies, but Jimmy's not so smart, he doesn't understand why. But Eve, she's in super genius, but it takes another super genius to understand. And actually, that's Lois Lane, because she looks at the selfies and she understands that Eve actually has been taking pictures of Lex Luthor's secret plans all the time. Eve has actually been spying on Lex Luthor all the time. She's been hiding her intel inside selfies, and thanks to her, Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane, they published an expose that is gonna tell the world who Lex Luthor actually is, because everybody believes Lex Luthor is a hero, he's a good guy. Then Superman flies and he tries to save people because this rift in the reality is skyscraper and still fall down. So Superman thing is that most of the people in Metropolis are being evacuated. So they're escaping as fast as they can. One of the cool things is that everybody who works for Lex Luthor, they seem to love him. They're like, oh, this is a tech bro who is fantastic, and really like him. But now some of them started to believe that Lex Luthor has gone too far, because Lex Luthor is threatening to destroy reality only because the people of Metropolis and the world like Superman more than they like him. So some of them, while Superman is trying to help people, he's getting attacked by Ultraman, and this fight is super cool. And they're fighting and they blows, and at the same time we find out that Lex Luthor has been guiding Ultraman all the time with drones, and it's like he can predict Superman's fighting styles. He says like T1 1000, K, B17, and stuff like that. He's been guiding Ultraman how to fight Superman because Lex Luthor has been able to predict all Superman blows and kicks and everything. So Ultraman has a big advantage over Superman. It's a very long fight between Superman, the engineer, and Ultraman. Superman's been losing against Lex Luthor's tactical genius. And then Superman flies very, very high up and crashes against Earth. The engineer actually blacks out, but she's alive, and the Ultraman's mask gets destroyed. And we can see that Ultraman is actually a clone of Superman. Lex Luthor tells Superman he's been searching for DNA around every battle that Superman ever had, and he found a hair strain. So he made a clone, but the clone is less intelligent than Superman, but he's very, very strong. And Superman figures out that these drones that have been flying around Ultraman has been giving him instructions. And then Superman wakes up and Krypto comes flying. And then Superman says, toy, destroy the toy. He looks at the drones, they look like the T-spheres. So Krypto like, and then Krypto starts destroying all the drones. And that's so funny. Now Superman is just fighting against Ultraman and not the tactical genius of Lex Luthor. So Superman wins the fight. The Ultraman, he falls into the dimensional rift that's destroying Metropolis. Then Superman sees that the Luthor Corp office has now become like a spaceship. Superman and Mr. Terrific, they fly towards the Luthor Corp flying fortress. And Lex Luthor, he sees that Superman is coming. But then Lex Luthor tries to run into the portal. And the portal actually looks like a boom tube, if you think about it. Maybe Lex Luthor knows Darkseid. But Superman stops him before he escapes. And after this, instead of ending with a big fight between Superman and Lex Luthor, it ends with two great monologues. It was a genius act by James Gunn because it felt like Superman All-Stars when Superman talks to Lex Luthor and says that he could have been a great guy. He could have saved everybody. He could have cured cancer. He didn't feel so much envy over Superman. And Superman and Lex Luthor is like, he's like, yes, I'm envious because everybody likes you more than me. They should like me more, and or something like that. This scene is great. I liked this scene so much because it wasn't just a blow-by-blow fight between Clark Kent, Superman, and Lex Luthor. This felt like something that Superman would do because Superman, his superpower is actually not being a superhero that's like a god. No, it's like being a superhuman. You know, somebody that cares about everybody, even Lex Luthor. He cares about humanity and he cares about everybody. So this movie is super great. And then Mr. Terrific and Superman saves the day. And then Mr. Terrific is told by the goons how to turn off the threat that's threatening to destroy the universe. So Mr. Terrific turns it off. And Superman saves the day. And the people of Metropolis, they love him again. And Lex Luthor and his goons are being arrested. And then Superman is no longer seen as a villain. Instead, he's seen like a hero. And then Mr. Terrific saves everybody that Lex Luthor put in the pocket dimension. And then the movie ends with Lex Luthor being imprisoned. And then Lois Lane says, Superman, I need to have an interview. And then Superman and Lois Lane, they fly up and they're starting to kiss each other. This is a super kiss. I love it. And Lois Lane actually says, I love you back. She tells Superman that she loves him. And this felt great. So then the movie ends. Don't go yet because there's a lot of funny, cool things happening. Like Zor-El, Supergirl, Joyce, the Fortress of Solitude, and said, what have you done with the door? What's the door? And Superman's like, point, what it always been. And she's like, okay. And she's kind of drunk. Superman tells the droids, Zor-El, she usually flies to planets with the red sun to get drunk. And we find out that Zor-El is actually the real owner of Krypto. Krypto acts the way he does because he's like, oh, Carol, and he's like, and then he starts jumping on Supergirl. It's so funny. I love that. And that got me super excited about Supergirl, the Woman of Tomorrow. It's amazing. What? It's very good. So if they can keep the same level excitement as the comic book, and also they brought in Jason Momoa as Lobo, that movie's gonna be great. Okay, so now Superman's getting healed in the Fortress of Solitude, and then the droid says, Superman, he feels very calm by seeing his parents, but we don't see the Kryptonian parents. No. And then the droid says, the thing is, Superman, he loves seeing his parents, and then we see the droids projecting Ma and Pa Kent around Superman while he's getting healed finally. That scene is totally amazing because we see how they taking care of him since he was a baby, and how they teach him how to fly, and everything's amazing. I love that scene. Just that scene alone is worth the ticket. And then the final scene is very funny, like in the end credit scene. So stay for that. That scene is super fun. So what do you think about the movie? Okay, as you might understand, I love the movie. I think it was very, very good. It was like watching a comic book splash onto the screen. Like your eyes were getting comic book like that all the time. It was great. But there are some things I didn't like. I didn't like the pacing. Okay, actually I like the pacing, but I think the pacing is going to be hard for most people that are not used to reading comic books. So the pacing was a little bit off for some people, maybe not for me, because I read a lot of comic books, so the pacing was great. But maybe the pacing is gonna be a little bit wonky for some people, and some of the camera angles and stuff like that when Superman was flying didn't feel 100%, but it was good. It was great. And then he also, I didn't like him so much. He was my least favorite character, but Lois Lane and Mr. Terrific and Krypto were amazing. And Nathan Fillion as Guy Garner, he was a hoot. He was like very, very funny. So, and David Cornsweet as Superman, he was like born for this role. He was great. He was really, really great. You could feel that this was Superman. Another thing I didn't like so much were actually the CGI sometimes. It felt a little bit off, like when Superman punches one of the bad guys and the teeth falls off. It didn't feel so good. It felt a little bit like a special effects from the Flash. I liked the Flash a lot, but not so, I didn't love it, but I liked it. So it feels like the same kind of special effects sometimes. But the big Kaiju fight was very, very good and stuff like that. It was very good. But sometimes I'm a little bit off. Okay. Thank you for watching. And do you like Superman? Tell me, who's your favorite Superman? Tell me down in the comments, who's your favorite Superman? Maybe it's another one. Yes, just tell me. And let's be respectful and have a fun time. So while you're down there at the comments, please drop a like. And also, why not subscribe? Because if you subscribe, we can hang with each other even more. Okay, bye bye hugs, take care. Take care.
Pom pom pom, pachom pachom pachom, quédate, pom pom.